My name is Fendii, and welcome to Lead and Wisdom. Today, I am here at High-End New York with my good friend Rachel. And basically, I just wanted to ask her some questions about High-End New York and, just get to know her. And I wanted to introduce her to my podcast. So, can you introduce yourself and tell everyone what High-End New York is?
Sure, so I'm Rachel. I'm a little newer to High End New York. I'm the marketing manager here. And High End New York to me means luxury, it means community. It sort of means this elevated experience where you're not just coming in for like a normal dispensary experience. We have a little bit of the, nice personality to keep you coming back, and we have events going on, and we're trying to just be more than a place you come and consume. So I'd say that's what High End New York means to me and what attracted me to this family here.
Do you have any events upcoming that you're planning or excited to launch?
Yes, we have some fun events that are still secret. So if you like secrets, secret, that are going to be released soon. So definitely, if you don't follow our Instagram yet, and_NY, we'll definitely release that soon. But you can find us every Tuesday at the night market on 18th Flint Street. You can also find us at a couple of Pride markets coming up, so just follow along for any of the local Pride markets. Those we won't be like tabling, we'll just be out kind of like talking about high end. But at night market, we always have a table every other Tuesday. You can come talk to me, my colleague Brandon, and some of our great ambassadors as well. And then as far as stuff that we have coming up at the shop, everything is still kind of to be determined right now because we want it to be more out in the community for the summer months. But coming around like Labor Day, we're going to start to have artists pop back up again. Like I'm sure you know that we have artists pop up here, and then you might even see me here vending my artwork and doing tarot readings. So definitely stay up to date, but as we are still a newer business, things change every day and happens really rapidly. So we're just trying to make our presence as big and loud as we can right now.
What inspired you to start High End?
Okay, yeah, so that's one. I'll just say it right here. That's one I'll pass off to my boss when he comes back.
I have Jerry here, one of the members of the management team of High End New York here in Rochester, New York. And can you just introduce yourself and tell everyone what High End New York is?
How you doing, family? My name is Jerry Christopher. High End New York is a dream that was birthed out of our fearless leader's vision of doing something different for himself, for his family, and for the community. And not only has he changed his life and changed our lives, he's been able to change the tapestry of the community through the work of High End New York. So High End New York is the only 100% black-owned legal cannabis dispensary in Monroe County, and we're very big about education. We're big about community service. We're big about providing not only the best product, but also the best experience, something that's warm and welcoming from top to bottom, and your family. So we treat everybody like how we treat each other, with love, with warmth, with energy, and with that familial sense.
I love that answer. I definitely think that truly represents what I've been experiencing every time when I come to High End New York. What inspired you to start High End and when?
So High End New York opened September 1st of 2025, but there was about 3.5 years worth of work to even get to that point. I look at the creation of High End similar to an iceberg. Most people just see the building and see what we've been doing since September 1st, but you gotta understand, legal cannabis market here in New York State is still very, very young. I say it's the wild, wild west. I say that it is still in its infancy, right? And I'm gonna borrow a term from Bloom Rock, who's an organization that's been very helpful with us and to us. we're plant pioneers, right? So we are the people who are in the front line of changing and shaping and growing, whether that means being here working with the customers in the community or being down in Albany dealing with the state level to say, this is how equity should actually be rolled out. This is how um, we should actually be speaking about what cannabis means at every level, right? Mind, body, and spirit, but then also in real practice and in real, fairness across the board.
That was a great answer. Honestly.
Yeah. And forcing the state to really put their money where they say their mouth is.
Right.
Is I guess what inspired me to like be a part of that mission, like what I heard from them, is just that I immediately felt like family, like when I was being spoken to, and that's something that I think is really, really lacking in the workforce these days. Is like you can't walk into a place anymore and just expect to be treated like a whole human being. You're kind of more like a robot or yeah, I guess a robot is really the only word I could think of for it. Whereas here, I know you and I were kind of talking offline and you said that you really pick up on people's energies and things like that. Well, here it was that good kind of feeling that you get when you leave a good group of people and you're feeling elevated and like brought up from that, instead of like, oh, I have to go recharge my social battery for like 3 weeks now.
Right.
So far, so good. I keep wanting to come back. It's a great place to work. It feels good to, be able to give your coworker a hug. It feels like family. And honestly, that's like something that in my life, I've left a lot of jobs that feel too corporate. I don't feel like I can have a personal voice there. And so I think this is a good space to be and to pour into. So, yeah.
I think that it's great that you said that actually because like I've been feeling the exact same way and on like a personal note, I definitely feel like I have been losing like a lot of opportunities with jobs because like I just feel like I can't have my own voice. Like it's just too much for me, honestly, And I definitely get this vibe from like high end, like you could really be yourself here. Like, I've already been to 2 showcases and like I honestly really love it. I could chill out here all day if I could.
Well, some days we will let you, so that's good.
What is the biggest misconception people have about dispensaries and marijuana in general?
I would love my boss to weigh in on this question too, but my personal opinion, in my humble opinion, I would say that a lot of people are quick to think like, oh, everybody's jumping on that bandwagon right now. And I think ultimately what I just said in the previous answer, because I could see that the high-end family here was, not just looking at this as a get-rich-quick like scheme, but rather a bigger artistic and community driven vision and mission is really like I think what is different about this dispensary. And I think people automatically assume it's like big weed.
Yeah.
Like people like that, I guess, in like what I've heard people say. And then obviously people just don't like marijuana.
Right.
And that, so like if for example, if we're out, we're talking at an event to people, I would say the people who have the biggest ick towards dispensaries are the people who already have the ick. But then also people who like really do think of it as big weed and want to keep like, doing it their own way,
Right.
if that makes sense. So yeah, and I also think as a woman and as like the eldest daughter of my family, I would say the stigma that like I was afraid to tell my parents like, oh hey, guess what? I finally got that job in marketing that I've been talking about, since getting my advertising job. And but are you sitting down? Cause it's for a dispensary. But no, I just speak my truth now, and I just say whatever it is because you know what? If I'm doing it and I'm doing it well, then good.
Definitely. And I would even say, like, for myself, like, my parents, like, for a very long time, they were, like, really hard on me about that. When it came to, like, smoking weed and indulging in, like, marijuana and stuff like that. Because there's just so much, misconception, so much stigma, so much misinformation that, the older generation just aren't as educated when it comes to marijuana. So they probably just, you know, they were like, oh, it came around, like I saw what it did in the community, like it's gonna do all this stuff to you, and it's just like, like I feel like as long as you use cannabis, responsibly, then you should be alright.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, 100% agree with you. And maybe some of the, I don't know. I think another thing, I don't know if you've seen these studies, but I see a lot of these. I should start fact checking them more because that's something I like to do. But there's a lot of Instagram accounts that do studies on like what Gen Z is doing as opposed to like the previous generation. And I believe it's something between 40 and 60% less young people are likely to be seen in a bar or, at a nightclub. And so I think that's what that generation, or like what I guess I perceive that generation to think more of as like mainstream and normal and like a way to blow off steam kind of thing. Whereas I feel like, at least now, we're leaning more towards like, okay, it doesn't impair me as much and I don't feel as bad after. So it's like a more, like, I don't know. It almost serves our lifestyles better because we can't be hungover anymore because we all have 2 to 3 jobs.
Right. Definitely.
Right? Like, who has time for that?
Right. Definitely.
But yeah, that's just something that I think about.
Yeah.
On my own.
And that definitely like makes me think too, because like just like what you're saying, like we can't be hungover all the time because we have like 2, 3 jobs and like X, Y, Z, and like yeah, like a lot of things like back in that generation was just like a lot different. Like everything is like a lot more expensive now, and then like I also see like on like our media, like television, like social media and like things on the internet, like back then, like if something like really really bad happened, they're like, I'm gonna go hit the bar, I'm gonna go grab a drink or something, and then like that's like a whole scene. And then like now I'm like definitely like, especially in like I don't know, watch Euphoria, but like
I've seen episodes but never chronologically because no HBO, but disclaimer.
Same. Same. Yeah, they were like, let's go blow off some steam, and then like they went, rolled up and had some weed. So I feel like, the the social push for cannabis has changed over the years.
Mhm. Oh, 100% agreed. Yeah. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
So glad that we're here in this timeline. Well, mostly.
Does responsible cannabis look? What does responsible cannabis use look like?
Yeah, well, okay. First, to answer this from like a marketing perspective, to talk about like if we're going to an event and we're gonna have a table, and let's say we're gonna have delivery, from our store to that event, responsible cannabis production or like almost solicitation, I guess, is just to make sure that the person is 21, and that okay, great, then we can have this conversation. And I would I even as a cannabis enthusiast, I probably would recommend like not really consuming until you're 21 because yeah, there's just a lot still going on. But I totally understand that when you're 19, you're not thinking that way. But yeah, definitely making sure that they're 21, and I think responsible cannabis use is different for every person. So if you're somebody who is using for sleep and chronic pain, your use is going to look a lot different from somebody who is using it for, let's say, anxiety and stomach pain, like IBS pains or things like that. So I think responsible use is more like a responsible spectrum. And then I would say, like any medication, like if you are taking it for more wellness purposes, I do hope that you're consulting with someone, whether it be a natural doctor, a doctor, if that's your speed, just to have somebody to talk to about it and report back, so you kind of have that second perspective. Whether that's like I said, doctor, therapist, anyone like that. And then if you're using recreationally, I mean, I think we're in a culture where you're gonna learn about alcohol at some point. Like you're gonna learn about it hopefully in health class when you're in school, if your school hasn't cut that. But like basically you're gonna learn about alcohol. So I think at this point, especially since we're at a point where there's places like us, like we have High End New York, we have other dispensaries, you should know the safety around it. So obviously not driving or operating heavy machinery if you're partaking in things like that. And then just like alcohol, seeing what your limits are if you're using recreationally. Because like I'm sure we've all been in an experience where you've had your first edible and you have thought to yourself, well dang, I just don't feel anything. Like I'm never gonna feel anything. So you have like what? Double what you already had. And then you're on another planet, you're wondering, will I ever get home? And it's just a bad time. So I think, yeah, there's learning experiences with any substance, right? And I think that there's going to be, especially as weed products continue to change and the potency of these products continues to change, there will definitely be a learning spectrum. And then I think it's also our job as a dispensary to educate you on what you're getting when you get it, right? So that you know for certain if you're having just a regular Manticoke joint or if you're having a Flores Farms infused joint, because that's going to make a big difference. Like if you're at a party and you're only going to be there for 7 hours, maybe you want to go regular joint and
Right.
share it with people. And then that way, just like with alcohol, you have some time and then you move on, right? But that's where I think we come in. So I would say responsible use at this stage of where marijuana is a two-way street. It's the consumer's responsibility and then partially, our educational responsibility to say, hey, this is what's on our floor. Yeah. So, no, that was a little long, but
No, but I think everything that you said was like definitely worded very beautifully because I as much as like I love being affordable and things like that, like I want everyone to be safe, and I truly like love like weed and wisdom, but like I would bring weed and wisdom to an end if it was promoting unsafe cannabis. So, High End New York is in Rochester, New York, over on 535 North Clinton Street.
South Clinton
South
Street.
Clinton Street.
Woman owned as well, and veteran owned as well.
I didn't even know that.
So although all the owners are black, there's also a veteran amongst them, woman amongst them. I think that's really important to note too. So just wanted to interject there.
That's dope. I didn't even know that. So that actually puts even more in favor. So if you're veteran, women, African American, or anybody else, please, that would be amazing. What advice would you give someone that would want to open a business like this?
Definitely. I note this every time I want it, but want my boss to weigh in on that. But I think, I have to connect it to what the thread that I've been building this whole time, which is, I think if you have a bigger vision of what you want a business like this to do for you as a business model, then that's going to be the best way forward. Because at this point, it's like this. You don't want to just think, oh, high-end New York dispensary. You want to think high-end New York brand. And whether you end up going bigger with your dispensary and having multiple locations, franchising, that kind of thing, that's great. But then, like, life doesn't always go the way that you want it to go. So I think having like that bigger vision, like for us, thinking about ways to be involved in the community, ways to create on social media with creators like you, that's our bigger vision, and we're hoping that with that comes the numbers to keep high end a sustainable place too. So that's what I would say, like not putting all of our eggs in one basket, because again, I think we're so I'm 29, so I think for like these Gen Z people that are among my age, and I don't know if we're like around the same age, but we were always taught like go to college if you can, and that's gonna set you up, and that's really not the case anymore. So I would say whether it's a dispensary, whether it's like a social media business model, whether it's having a regular 9 to 5 like an RN or an at-home nurse, none of these jobs are safe and secure. So it's good to have like this flexibility and this adaptability, and if you can somehow build that into a vision for a dispensary, I think that's what's going to make you successful, whether it be in the actual weed business here, cannabis business, or whether that leads you through the network to somebody new. So, not a professional business success person over here, but definitely some knowledge in growing communities via social media. So that's kind of where my knowledge is.
Marijuana changed the way you think and feel, you know?
Yeah, like, oh my god, definitely changes the way I think and feel emotionally, and gives me an opportunity to learn how to try to think like that when I need it, and like I don't have the quick access to that. So like yeah, it's such a teacher for me, and also like helps with sleep and general anxiety and things like that. But on this like journey I've had with marijuana, I think that ultimately it's like a teacher, just like emotions are. And for me, it helps me to realize that like I am safe in my body, and I am always like the captain of that. And then basically like, but I have to deal with these like bigger emotions. And I always would say like in my even like very recent past, I'll say like I want to be like a feeling bender, or like like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Like I so wish I could be like a feeling bender and just be able to like do this and then just like move on. And I'm realizing, oh wait, that's like what creativity is. That's like what conversations like this are. Is that's when like the feeling bending is happening. But for me, it's like marijuana helps me to like coexist with those nasty things, especially when, and I'm sure many people out there can relate to this, but like especially when we're so overwhelmed with things, it really does help me to finally relax. And that's it for me. I should note, disclaimer, that's in conjunction, like adding that with meditation and movement. If I just have weed, I could feel like it could be the opposite, where I won't receive the benefits of it because I'm like not doing the other things I need to do. So that's my disclaimer.
Do you think that it's bad that marijuana changes the way that you feel emotionally?
Ooh, great question. I think it depends on like the responsible use question. Yeah, like are you running away from things, or are you using it as like a learning experience? Like, I think, that's everybody's philosophy is different. But I do think that, and I wouldn't have said this when I was 19, but I do think that starting a cannabis journey like at 21 probably makes more sense mentally and emotionally. Okay, I'm actually feeling connected with my answer now. I felt so that question made me feel uncomfortable.
I apologize.
No, oh no. I want to note that because it's okay to answer things even though they make us feel uncomfortable. And they definitely make us feel that way for a reason. So I think it makes me feel uncomfortable because I've had my own journey with this, but I think ultimately, no, I don't think it's a bad thing that it changes how you feel mentally and emotionally as long as you have a practice for coming back to yourself. So I think before I said like responsible use, but really what I mean is like just like anything, like your favorite TV show, whether like I know people, I'm more of an ultimatum person, but I know people like Love Island or like Survivor, where I'm more of a traders person myself. And I think like those shows, like those reality shows, if I'm watching too many of them, I'm like not doing good. Like I might be snippy to my boss for no reason or have trouble communicating, and it's because I'm not detoxing from that. So I think the same thing goes for me with marijuana, where it's good to take a break and like come back to just Rachel as I am, do a little check in with her, and then sometimes maybe let out some super nasty emotions, and then yeah, keep going. I don't know. I used to get really like down and out when big emotions would come up, but now I think because of urgency and like work life, I definitely do still run from them as long as I can, but then eventually I'm like, fine, you got me. I'm here. Like, I'm listening. So I think it's so hard for me to like be on one end or the other. I want to say I'm indifferent, but I still believe in education behind this, and I definitely still believe in like community and ultimately not getting too isolated in like the world that we kind of create when we're just saying hi to me too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can definitely understand why you would feel indifferent about that question. I would say my answer would be no. I don't think that it's a bad thing to that weed changes the way that you feel and think emotionally because there are all types of drugs out there that change the way that you think and feel emotionally. And those drugs are pushed on us all the time, and it's really only because it's clinical, you know.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was like really hard for me because like I struggle with like really bad depression, really bad anxiety. And then like growing up, like they just I felt like a guinea pig. Like they just wanted to try like medication after medication, antidepressant, antipsychotic, and I'm like, I don't feel like I need to be suppressed this much, you know? Like I'm not unstable, I'm just sad,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So then I was just like, let's try some weed, you know, see how that is. And like honestly, like before, like a lot of people would, like try to think of it as like a vice or like I'm running away from like those emotions and stuff. It's like, what's the difference of me being on an antidepressant and then me using weed? I'm running away from the same thing. I'm just taking the drug in a clinical way.
Yeah. I actually do have a very similar experience to you. I don't know how comfortable I am sharing all the details, but a lot of what you're saying is very parallel to my experience, like through college and through accessing what mental health resources are at university, that kind of thing. And I do agree with you. I guess the reason I remain indifferent is because similarly to like and this is a question I've really thought about. So similarly to like the other medications that they're so like willing to hand us, right? I still do and realize for me that every medication does have some kind of side effect. So like I like to, well, for me, I needed to like create those boundaries where I come back to myself, and that's for like long term good kind of relationship with it. And So that's why I remain indifferent, because I think we all have different checks and balances and different limits of what, yeah, like what our journey with that's gonna look like. I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't want you to think I'm like deterring people, because that's not what I'm doing. I just want to remain like, oh, well, everyone's different, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave it that
Definitely.
way.
And then like even with like what you said, like I still like relate to that too, like coming back into yourself. And then like I think the reason why like my answer is like no, you shouldn't feel bad about it is because the way how like I come back into myself is because everyone else always told me that what I should do and go and do this and be on those medications, and that's not what I wanted to do. So then when I finally figured out the things that I wanted to do, I genuinely was happy.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That was really nice.
Yeah. And it's definitely though okay, like, you know, like I did get a bit personal. You know, it's like an open space, you know, you don't have to share, you can share, but it's like, that's just what really like, you know, minimalism is all about. I just want, because it's really just me. But, you know, I really just want people to just feel like they can just say how they feel. Like, you know, everyone really just like has like a filter. And it's like, you know, we're all gonna pass away the same day we're gonna pass away. We're all gonna wake up at the same time and go to sleep at the same time. So, like, you know, just keep doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
People are gonna say and think, and everything's gonna continue to happen if you don't. So.
Well, I guess with that like bit of inspiration, what this is like to know question that you asked me, but I think like if I were to, you know, think about what you've shared about your podcast and like what maybe reading wisdom like means to me, and like this is like me putting on my Rachel, like my real Rachel hat for a second, is like healing. And I sort of like the question like what's the tea around dispensaries, because I sort of like being in that group where it's like we're the misfits or we don't fit in or whatever, because that's how I've always felt. I've never fit in the family, the whatever multiple families that exist within my unit. There's never been a real place. So as I continue to navigate the world, weed for me has been like a bridge to connection. And I think part of that is because of like the emotional experience that a lot of people in our community have, like brings us together. And so I think for me, that's what it is. And it also really connects me to like when I was talking about like the feeling bending and stuff. It really connects me to my body in a different way, where I feel like you said everybody was always like telling you what to do or feel, and so it's almost like that can make us estranged from our bodies and not be sure how to even like you know, like how to be. So I think weed has given me such a path forward with that, and I don't always feel safe to say that. So when you just mentioned that, I was like, I should really let people know that this is special to me, and like has unlocked pieces of me that I shut down, pushed down so hard, and it's like so beautiful when those pieces come out. And then that's why I want to make sure that I can also meet those pieces on the side without it, and that's like something that I want for myself. So I don't know, balance. But thank you.
What was the biggest challenge when you were first getting started?
A couple things. Obviously, any type of business, even outside of cannabis, is always acquiring funds, pooling funds, and if this was a business of carpenters or if this was a mechanic shop, we would still have hurdles, but we would have more access to funding. But because it's cannabis and it's not federally legalized yet, there were so many more doors closed than opened, and there are a lot of people who, at every level of the state, that cared about what we're doing, that wanted to see us succeed, that had access to funds, but because federally speaking, cannabis is not legalized yet, there's nothing that they could do, right? And that gave us a lot of hurdles as far as time, energy, resources, spinning the wheels on things that ultimately were fruitless to a degree. And so dealing with the finances is one thing, but then the other aspect is working through destigmatizing what cannabis is. Um, Rochester is a place that is up north, but it does have a lot of traditional values that you will find somewhere in the south, right? So there's a lot of folks that have their beliefs that cannabis is one way, but the reality is that is an old school, controlled, marginalized way of thinking. But the only way our folks, and I'm saying our folks meaning people of Monroe County, people of Rochester, are going to be able to see different is through education, through action, and then through just real work, real success, real progress, and that goes for the older folks of the generation down to the younger. Because although one of the conversations is the legal market versus what they call the legacy market, right? Because cannabis didn't just pop up in Rochester 2, 3 years ago. It's been here, right? So now about the conversation of why legal cannabis versus what I've already been doing, going to, if I got my person, my place, my way of getting to it, why would I even want to consider a legal dispensary or legal cannabis? And the truth is, it's all about the safety and the wholeness of the person, right? It's about the reality that we are not where we used to be. So as a result, every single aspect of what we do, down to what we put into our bodies, can move and progress in that same regard. So there's a lot of work, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of information that's out there now that we haven't even as a people been able to get to because it has been so stigmatized and so heavily criminalized. So now we're moving past that, and there's something major that's happening, and we're the pioneers of it. And I say we, not just high in New York, but every single person who's a part of this community. If you care about growing, if you care about running a business, even if you just want to consume, you are a plant pioneer, and it's important to know what you're putting into your body and what you're sharing with anybody else in the community in the space.
With it being stigmatized and criminalized, were you ever discouraged, and what made you not want to give up? And then also, like, I just wanted to add the note of like, that is like a very like real statement of like, what you said is because like I was also like asking myself the question like, why would I choose a dispensary over getting it where I've been getting it? Because the price difference, of course,
Dramatic.
But like it really just boils down to like the safety, honestly.
Absolutely.
And the safety really just trumps over everything. Like, yeah, you might be getting it a little bit cheaper somewhere else, but it's not regulated, and you don't want anything to be ending in a tragedy or anything fatal. But what discouraged you, or why didn't you give up?
So, great question. First and foremost, knowledge is power, and that's a saying that preludes our existence even in this world. But knowledge is power, especially when you think about what you're putting into your body, and that's at every level, but definitely cannabis. So everything that's legally crafted here in New York State has a QR code, and you can scan that QR code, and it'll tell you when the seeds were planted, when it was harvested, where it was in New York State, where it was harvested, how it got, turned into either pre-rolls, into flour, into chocolate, gummies, the drinks, right? So knowledge is power, and anybody who's ever existed on the gray side, the legacy side, knows that we can't pinpoint to that, specificity, right? Before we get into anything else. So that is major, and that's one of the main reasons why it's worth spending the extra money to be able to say, I know that I have certification at every level from the state from top to bottom that this is not only safe but is also it has the beauty, it has the potency, it has everything that you would want an amazing flower to have. And how did I push past the sense of discouragement? The truth is, we a family, right? So having family, building with family. I'm a little brother. I'm a little brother. So having my older cousin, having my older brother be, if you ever saw him, you wouldn't even know that he is the owner. So we don't call him the owner. His title is the brand vision director. So he's the visionary behind all of this. And you saw him walk in the midst of us holding this conversation. He's the one that makes it very clear that nothing is impossible, right? That there is a reason why doors are opening. When you put the work in, right? Faith without work is dead. But when you put the work in and you just see doors just start opening that you weren't even thinking were even there, you realize that there's something larger, there's something more powerful, there's something more monumental that is happening. So even when the discouragement comes, a lot of my family is very old school church. So they definitely wasn't open-minded to what was happening not in that space, right? They looked at that as one way, but the truth is we're moving and changing and shaping the DNA of what the legal cannabis market looks like. So, with the family here at High in New York is very versatile. So it isn't just, plant pioneers in that regard. You got artists, you got musicians, you got entrepreneurs. So the truth is, trying to do anything different in Rochester or anywhere in the world, you're gonna have pushback and people who don't believe it till they see it. All you can do is focus on what you're called to do and then continue to push the rock forward.
Honestly, I don't even know what to say. I am very delighted with this entire conversation. Like, I truly think that you are a very intellectual person, and there are a lot of things.
Appreciate you, sister. Appreciate
Of
you.
course, like, I think that there are a lot of things that you're like educated on, and I think that there are things that I can learn from you. There's definitely things my podcast can learn from you, and there are definitely things that like high-end New York can definitely bring to the community that everybody should learn. Because I didn't even know about like marijuana coming into the States and everything tracked and everything. Like, I didn't even know any of that.
That's dope. I'm grateful that we're having this conversation. And the truth is, they call it, being tried by the fire, right? So you're learning a lot on the go. And if you're really open-minded and passionate about what you're doing, you will pick up everything. There's nothing everything's a learning lesson, and if you really are paying attention, it's just gonna elevate you to what you need to. So I didn't know about terpenes. I really didn't know about all of the state laws. I didn't, and terpenes, folks, some people here that know what it means. Terpenes is basically the DNA of the plant. So if you're talking about a plant that makes you feel a sense of uplift and brightness and energy, that's a specific terpene. If there's one that's like, I want to, be laying down and I want to feel sleep. If there's one that I kind of want to have a little vibe of energy, but also a sense of relax. Those are all different terpenes. But that's something that we as a team have been learning in real time, but I personally didn't know until we were opening the business, right? I personally didn't know all the different ways that you can consume, right? We know smoking, but if there's chocolate, there's drinks, there's vapes, right? There are and like I said, this is still scratching the surface of what the industry is going to be in New York State. And anybody who is creative, Rochester's full of creatives, anybody who has a vision, anybody who has that sense of, oh, this will be an interesting way to consume. Nobody rolled out the apple pie yet. Nobody, right? There's a lot of space for entrepreneurs and for creatives to build in. And the truth is, there's a lot of space for more knowledge and more work to be done. And it takes a village to do anything. It definitely takes a village to see this space grow and be what we need it to be. Because not only is it going to be a place with powerful, awesome, potent cannabis, it also is a way to be able to open multiple doors to freedom in all different ways for all of us, right? So I have to also give credit to a couple folks or entities who helped us get to where we are. Number one is it's a woman named Glenna. She has a farm and product. You'll see her. She's very big and has been very big in Monroe County in New York State for opening doors for folks. So she, at the very inception of that iceberg at the bottom, she helped us a lot wrap our mind around what we should be doing, places we should be moving. And then there's an organization, I mentioned it before, called Bloom Rock, BLOOMROC. I would say everybody look it up. If you have any interest in learning more about the industry and how to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form, Bloom Rock has the education. They are the hub. And the truth is, just like anybody will want to support us at High End, I will also say put that energy behind supporting Bloom Rock, because we need institutions like them to be able to keep opening doors. So when we say we're the first 100% black owned legal cannabis dispensary in Monroe County, we want there to be 20, 30, 40 of them, right? And for everybody. So that really comes through the village mindset and through the community coming together, and then people just wanting to push forward. Yeah, tax prices are going to make the legal cannabis market more expensive right now, but for the safety, for the education, for the resources, for the community, it's worth it. I promise you, especially the peace of mind and the safety.
Definitely. And I was just about to ask you if you had like any like information on like, you know, starting up a cannabis business and like responsible cannabis use just in general, and just like all the different ways of how to use cannabis.
First and foremost, I just say dreamers dream. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing that my big brother said to me. It starts with a dream, and then the work comes in after that. But don't give up on the dream. So if you have an idea, there's many customers that have come in and just mentioned, you know, some of their ideas, and I say, hey, don't be discouraged by the barriers to entry. Don't be discouraged by that. Do the research and say what licenses exist and how does my dream or my passion fit into that sense of a license, that sense of a business, that sense of an organization. And yeah, you can always look at High End as a bridge to further knowledge and education. We're gonna share with you what we know. We're trying to learn we are learning more and more every single day. But I'm telling you, Bloom Rock is the place that needs to be supported at the umpteenth degree because of the work that they're doing to just kick down the doors, obliterate, you know, access and blockage to access and all of that. The other part of your question was about ideas for consumption or ways for consumption. Am I tripping? What was the other part of your question?
Yeah, just like education on like different ways of how you can consume cannabis and safely.
So the state, the OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, is down in Albany, but they regulate the entire state. They're very good about having information available. So even here at High End, we have, you know, flyers and pamphlets that speak to, you know, seniors using cannabis, edible consumption. You know, there is a whole spectrum of safe consumption and conversations around it. The one thing I just would always say is just dosage, right? So just because, you know, sometimes your eyes can be bigger than your stomach. It's like, I'm gonna buy all of this cannabis. Just try a little bit first to see how it affects you. And then from there, take your time and do the research. And even if you have questions, ask your bud tender, right? Ask your business that you are, you know, whether it's here or anybody else, talk to them, but then also do your own research, do your own due diligence. Look it up. I told you about the QR code that's on every single piece of legal cannabis in New York State. Actually look up what terpenes are in there. How does your body respond to them? Right? It takes time, but it's worth it because it's something that people have a passion for, and it's your body. And there's nothing more important than you taking care of your own body.
What made you choose Rochester?
Well, come on. Everybody here at High End New York is born and raised in Rochester, New York. All pieces and parts of the rock. It's the rock. So, you know, my wife and I, we graduated from Wilson Magnet High School. Some of the members of the team are from East. Some of them are from Marshall, Jefferson. But we're all from Rochester, born and raised. So there's no other place that we would go or even think about. We do have free delivery to every place in Monroe County, but there's no place that's more important to our heart than Rochester, New York.
So even with that being said, do you think that you would open up other dispensaries in other places?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But the heartbeat starts here. You can have the arms and the legs and all of that stuff move, but the heart is where the heart is.
Do you feel like people judge you or place a stigma on you personally when you tell people what you do for it?
Yeah, but that just furthers the reason why we're doing the work that we need to continue to destigmatize. And I can tell you, it's less now in 2026 than it was in 2023, or even when we opened in 2025, right? I'm somebody that wears a lot of different hats and has a lot of different titles, and there may be some people I'm talking to where I would show them these three hats and not even get into the dispensary, just because I know that, yeah, this is the old school pastor of, such and such, or this is the old school thinker. But as a result, if we're gonna push it forward, we gotta push it forward in every regard. Again, I'm a big advocate of Bloom Rock. They have a part of their organization is something called a consortium, where they're bringing in forward-thinking faith leaders to talk about cannabis. So it's not just that they're um, advocates or not against cannabis; they're also speaking with their church to say, hey, we don't have to look at this as a bad thing, right? They're not necessarily doing it from the pulpit, but they're at least having conversations. If somebody elder in their community is saying they have joint pains, the pastors aren't working against the benefits of what cannabis could be. So I know that, like, again, it's a village mindset, it's a community mindset to destigmatize it. But yeah, I mean, let's be real. But the truth is, there people always gonna have their thoughts until they see the real change, until they see the real progression.
Thank you so much for having me down here at High End New York on.
Appreciate you immensely, my sister. Thank you for coming.
Of course. This is Weed and Wisdom. I'm here with my friend Jerry, and you guys met Rachel earlier. Um, but yeah, I don't get too fancy on here. Y'all have a good day.